Welcome to the Be Savvy Show. I am your host, Clara Rose. Each week, we talk about crafting your message for the world and other matters of influence, or we have a special guest who's doing something unique in the marketplace, making a difference in the world around them. And I bring them because I think that you might be interested in hearing about what they do. If you are building a business, ministry, cause, or brand, let me assure you, you are in the right place, my friend. Now, today, I don't have a guest, only because I haven't gotten anybody locked down in this time slot for today. And every week, the show goes on with or without people. So I'm going to talk to you about something that is near and dear to my heart. And of course, as an author or writer who's looking to be published or has been published, should be near and dear to your heart as well. And it is professional matters for the writer. So that's what we're going to talk today a little bit about. Now, if you are brand new to the writing world, you may not have any of these things in place or established. If you've been around for a while, you may well have some of these things already in place. Either way, this is just a good review to see if you are doing some of the best practice things as a writer or author for your industry. Now, don't let me get on my soapbox too much, but I want to talk with you about just the basics. If you've never heard this before, you've probably been living in a closet, right? But your tribe. Let's talk about your tribe. Who is your tribe? What is your tribe? Your tribe is the people that you're actually writing for. So the question really is, where do you find these people? What is it that they are looking for? And is there a gap in the marketplace that you can fill for them? And then, of course, creating your book content for those people is what I'm really getting at here. And my savvy tip here is not everyone is your potential reader. Find your people and write for them. So ask yourself, where are my people? Where's my tribe? Where are the people that will pay attention to what it is that I'm creating? So this is an easy one for me. I am a literary consultant and a publisher. So I look for people on social media who are talking about wanting to write a book, or talking about that they are writing a book, or talking about, I've written this manuscript. Now what do I do? I have no idea what to do next. Those are my people. That's my tribe. And you are probably one of them. If you're watching this show, you're probably one of those people. You have either thought about writing a book, or you're in the process of writing a book, or maybe you've written a book and you don't know what to do next. I get those kinds of calls all the time from people like, hey, I have this manuscript. Now what do I do? People just don't know. And so you try to find a professional to help you with that. Those are my people. That is my tribe. So everything that I do, everywhere that I am looking for those people. And I'm asking myself, where are they? Right? And what are they looking for? What is it that they need? And then, of course, is there a gap in the marketplace? There absolutely is a gap in the marketplace for me. There's not a lot of people out there or companies out there that are working with people who have created a book, but don't know what to do next. Or they're thinking about creating a book and they don't know where to start. And so it's easy for me to fill in that gap in the marketplace by saying, hey, guess what? I have a membership program, or I have something that works specifically for people just like you. So, in your industry or whatever it is that you do, ask yourself, who is my tribe? Who are my people? And where can I find them? This, of course, is just step one to showing up for your tribe or your people and doing it in a professional manner. I think too many people write a book, put it out into the world, and then they sit back and wait. And they wait. And sometimes there's crickets. I do get those calls as well. People are like, okay, I wrote a book, I published a book, and now what do I do? There indeed is a plan and next steps for that. So, in your profession, whatever you're creating this book or this tool to do, you need to ask yourself, where are my people? What are they looking for? What is the gap that I can fill in for them? So you have a plan to reach those people and write specifically for those people. Okay. Step one, find your tribe, find your people. All right, let's look at step two. Let's talk about your digital presence. What do I mean by digital presence? Of course, anywhere in the digital world where people could potentially find you. And it's sad but true that authors can no longer ignore the digital world. There was a day and there was a time when you didn't have to have a digital presence, but that is long gone. Things like a domain name, a professional email address, landing pages or websites, Amazon sales, all of those things now matter. And then, of course, love them or hate them. My savvy tip for you, my friend, is that Amazon is still the Mac Daddy of book sales, and your book must be there. Now, you can get your book there in more than one way. And of course, if you're not aware, you can publish through their tool. They do have a tool for on demand publishing, which of course comes with a downside, but it also puts the most money in your pocket as an author. It's a piece or a tool that often small publishing houses and small hybrid publishers or boutique publishers like myself will sometimes use that tool to put a book out into the world. Very low cost of entry for the author and the most money in the author's pocket. So that's a positive for them. Then, of course, the other way that you can get on Amazon is to submit directly to the books that you've already published. The process is a little different. If you're not sure how to do that, you can Google that, or you can always reach out to me. I'm happy to help you through that process. Now, of course, if you're one of my authors, I'm doing that whole process for you, so you don't have to worry about it. But if you're well beyond that, already have a book in hand and just need some guidance, of course, I'm happy to help you there as well. Amazon is your friend. That's your frenemy. If Amazon is not the tool that you want to use and you want to put it on there to sell, you are still going to put money in your pocket. They're just going to keep more of it. You can still earn royalties. They're just going to keep more of it. Okay, so we've talked about Amazon, but let's back up just a tiny bit to talk about your domain name. Now, this is something I do with my authors right out of the gate when we first start a project. And that's talk about how people in the world are going to connect with you and find you. Sometimes that's your own name. For instance, clararose.com. I've owned that domain for years and years and years, and people can always find me there. They can find me other places as well, but they can always find me. It happens to be my name, and so it's super convenient for me that my name was available. If you're thinking that as an author, you're going to have more than one book, maybe getting your name as a domain name is the way to go. Then everything that you can create or that you intend to create can live in one place with that domain name. If this is a one and done book for you, maybe it doesn't make sense for you to buy your name as a domain. Maybe it makes sense to buy the name of the book if it's available. So if you're doing something that's fairly common in the marketplace for a name, it's probably not available. And you might have to get creative for a domain name. For instance, when I launched Rosedale Publishing a long time ago at this point, Rosedale Publishing, while the name was available, it was like $35,000 to purchase it. So I opted to go another way. Craftingyourmessage.com is the domain name that I use for Rosedale Publishing. So you can get creative if the name that you want isn't available. You don't have to spend a lot of money on it either. It's just having a domain name that can point to something. If you're a one-off author who has a business, a ministry, a cause, or a brand, you might well just be selling your book on your website, and that's okay too. Perhaps you don't need a domain name, but if you don't have a professional place where people are finding you and connecting with you, I highly encourage you to spend the $20 a year or whatever it is and get a domain name. It gives you the added benefit of having a professional email address. So, what do I mean by professional email? If you've followed me for any length of time, you've probably heard me talk about this before, but whoever or whatever you are at Gmail or at Hotmail or at Yahoo or whatever the other ones are out there, I don't even know, that is not a professional email. If you worked for Nike or Coca-Cola or any other large corporation, would your email address be at Gmail or at Hotmail or at wherever? I think not. It's going to be, Clara at Coca Cola or Clara at Nike or Clara Rose or however they within their organization have their email structure set up. They're not going to have, their anybody in their company with an email address that's a Gmail or a Hotmail or any of those things. So, as a professional, it's important that you also have a professional email address, that you look professional to the world. Very few instances uh, is that not true. Now, if you're doing a legacy project, and what I mean by legacy project is this is the family memoir, or this is, I want to leave this for future generations. I want to tell my life story or a family life story, or something that the population of the world in general, it's not really for them. It's about legacy. Those could be the exception. You might not need a domain name and you might not need a professional email address for that. It's really not about the sales when you do that kind of a project, although we always hope that you're going to make good sales because your book's going to be that darn good and people are going to want to read it. But that kind of lets you off the hook a little bit in the professionalism realm if you're truly just doing a legacy project. Anything else that you're doing, absolutely get that domain name, and then you can set up your email address. This is a good example, clararose.com. You can reach me always at hello@clararose.com. That is my professional email address that I use for my literary consulting company. You can always find us there. Another good example is craftingyourmessage.com. Remember, I said I had that domain for Rosedale Publishing? So you can get support at craftingyourmessage.com, and somebody from the company will reach back out to you. Those are professional email addresses where you can actually get a hold of somebody at that company. That's what it looks like to look like a professional in your industry. Don't kid yourself, you are a professional, my friend. Let's talk about being professional, shall we? This is not always a super comfortable conversation for people, but it's really important that you create profiles in an intentional way so that how the public perceives you is consistent everywhere you look. It's still okay to be authentically who you are. Let's just be savvy about it, shall we? Writing is a profession. Treat it accordingly. If you want people to take you seriously as a writer, as an author, then you need to treat it as a profession, which means you're going to show up professionally for the world. And then, of course, I hope that you're constantly honing your skills. You are using professional tools for editing. Um, you have a platform that shows you off as a professional author. Everywhere you show up in the world, that you're paying attention to how professional you're being. Now, this is kind of a sidebar, and I'm only going to touch on it slightly, but I think that it's super important that you remember that everywhere you are on social media, even if it is not your professional page, for instance, you can find me on Facebook, Savvy Clara Rose. That's my personal, but you can also find me on there professionally under my business and under my show, as a matter of fact. But on my professional page, I'm mostly doing professional stuff. On my personal page, I'm still staying fairly professional. You're going to see some things that you're not going to see on my business page. Like occasionally you might see, that apple pecan pie that I made, or, me sharing one of the pictures of my grandchildren, or something that is more personal, but I'm super intentional about not putting offensive things on my personal profile because it's going to reflect poorly on me as a professional. So just something to keep in mind, that you may not want people looking you up and finding you on your personal pages in a way that's not looking professional, or that you might be embarrassed that the world in general sees about you. Remember that social media is very social and there's no secrets and it lives on forever. So that's just a little tidbit from the be professional side of me. And let's move on. Okay, let's talk about words. You have heard me say this before, undoubtedly. Words matter. How you show up matters. Be strategic and intentional about what the world sees, but what you say really matters. And of course, you only get one shot at a first impression. If you make a very poor first impression, you may well not get another opportunity. You may. Some people will come back and give you another shot at it. But the words that you say and how you say them can really make a difference between a raving fan or a loyal reader and missing an opportunity to connect with your tribe, with somebody who is potentially your reader and wants to hear what you have to say. So, of course, my savvy tip there is to be strategic and be intentional about how you're showing up in the world, how you're showing up on social media, how you're showing up in the places where people are going to be looking for you. Something that most writers don't even consider is if you have a business, ministry, cause, or brand, the places that are consumer to consumer are really great places to be. For instance, LinkedIn is a wonderful place to be if you are trying to look for your tribe who's going to follow your brand, become your reader, because those are business people hanging out on LinkedIn. Now, there is some on Instagram, of course, but there's also a lot of, you know, look at what I had for lunch kind of sites as well, or people as well. Facebook can be a great place to connect with people professionally, but really LinkedIn, I think, is the Mac Daddy when it comes to connecting with other professionals because it's designed for professionals to connect with professionals. Be sure that you put your contact information and all of your information on LinkedIn and talk about your book. Talk about what your book does in your business so that you can connect with the right people, connect with your tribe. Okay, we've talked about how words matter. Let's talk about when to get started. This is a mistake that I see all too often. People wait until they have book in hand before they actually do something about promoting it. Start now. That's my biggest advice to you. Start now. Don't wait until you're ready to make sales. Create a plan and build the infrastructure. It takes time. So create it while you write your book or create it before you write your book even. And then of course, my savvy tip for you on this one is writing a quality book does take time. Use that time to plan for ongoing sales. Now, you might be saying, Clara, I have no idea where to start to do this. Now, of course, there are tons of people online who have lots of things to say about how to make this happen. Let me encourage you to hop on into some of my other videos. I talk at length about how to build a following, how to build an audience, how to plan and strategize for your book launch, how to be prepared for ongoing sales. There's lots of good stuff in there. But if you are needing something more than that, I have the perfect solution for you. And it is rolling out in January with a brand new online version, and it is called the Savvy Author Membership. And of course, I'm going to show up in the Savvy Author Membership every week to help you every step of the way to get your book put together. Let me tell you why the membership works. It is the first of its kind to give you the blueprint for a successful book, plus the education about the industry and the accountability to get it done. So, no matter where you are in your journey, the Savvy Author membership can help you to plan or write or publish or launch your book. And then, of course, the important things is that you have somebody professional to guide you along the way, that there's a process or a strategy in place behind creating the right book, capturing all those ideas that are floating around in your head, outlining your structure, putting together all of the pieces that fit together in a book, all the things you don't think about because you just don't realize are so important to the creation of a book. Formatting, all of those pieces, they need to be talked about. And that is all in the membership. Then, of course, talking about your understanding the publishing industry so you can make the right choice for you as an author, and then launching your book, strategies for launching your book, and how to write, a good press release, all of the pieces that you need to know that perhaps you didn't know that you need to know. All of those things live in the Savvy Author membership. Now, I think the biggest piece missing from most programs out there, and over the years, I've been doing this for a really long time, helping people write their book. Over the years, the piece that's the most missing is getting people to put their hiney in the seat. Sometimes people call it butt in seat, to actually get the work done, to actually get the writing done. So if you're in the very beginning stages thinking, okay, I have a book that I want to create, that's the piece that you're going to struggle with absolutely the most. And there's a reason for it. So, here's a good question, have you said, I'm going to write this book, and sat down at your computer, or if you're old school, you might have grabbed a tablet and a pen and you started to write your book? How long did that last? How much did you actually get written? Probably not a lot got done. Or maybe you were really dedicated because you are going to make this happen, and you have hammered out a few chapters even, which honestly is more than most people get done when they're trying to do it on their own, is they just don't know how to get it done. The ideas that pop into their head, they just slam them out on paper like, oh yeah, I want to say that as well. And oh, you know what I forgot to say? I forgot to say this. And that is where we really shine as a membership. The Savvy Author membership starts in the very beginning. So it starts with the concept for the book. What do you want your book to do? What do you want your book to be about? So we start with the brainstorm. You've probably heard me say we have a brainstorm and blueprint process that I created. That's it. That brainstorm is a brain dump. We're going to get all of those ideas out of your head where we can do something with them. So where we can see them. So it's a tangible, okay, here's what's going in the book. In the Savvy Author membership, you can do that on your own. All of the training is right there in the membership. And then, of course, weekly, when we jump on our weekly calls, which I call accountability calls, because it just says every week when you show up, Clara's going to ask you, what did you get done today? What did you do this week? That's the accountability. Someone to hold your feet to the fire and say, hey, you said you're going to get this done. Did you get your brainstorm completed? Or you can ask questions. Hey, I'm stuck on this part of my brainstorm. That's step one. Now we've got an idea of what's going in our book. Then we blueprint it. And the blueprint is where the magic kind of happens. We take all the pieces and we put them in an order that's going to make sense for your reader. It's not about you, it's about your reader. It's about putting your content in an order that is going to make sense to them, that's going to drag them, pull them, push them through the process of whatever it is you're trying to teach them, whatever knowledge you're trying to pass on to them. And so that outline is a way for us to just guide them through. You're here, you want to be here, here's the path. Here's the journey. Let's take this journey together. And that's exactly what the book should do for them. So the brainstorming blueprint process does a beautiful thing. It means that when we sit down to write, which remember I said that's the hardest thing, is to sit down and write your book. That's the piece that people struggle with the most. Now you have an outline to follow. You can open it up and say, oh, look, I'm on chapter 1. I said chapter 1 was going to be about this. It's predetermined. We already know what's going in there. Now all you have to do is focus on this little capsule, this little piece, one little piece of a book, one little piece of an overwhelmingly large project, or it can feel that way anyway, that gives you one thing to focus on at a time. Once you've gotten everything into that first piece, then you can move on to the next piece. This ensures that when you get done, you have said everything you wanted to say. It's in an order that makes sense for your reader. And when you're done, you'll have a good manuscript that does what you set out to do. If you haven't heard me say it before, I'm going to just say it again, and I'll probably say it every week. Your book is a tool. What do you want this tool to do in your business, ministry, cause, or brand? That's what we're going to create together as a group. And then, of course, the accountability is the glue. That's the magic stuff that makes you do the actual work of it, right? Showing up every week with another group, with a group of other writers, we're saying, here's what I got done this week. What did you get done this week? That accountability is gold. That's gold. That's why people join writers groups. That's why people, you know, have accountability partners. All of those things are baked into the Savvy Author membership. So I just want to encourage you, if you are in the beginning stages, this is a perfect place to plug in. The Savvy Author membership might be for you. You can check it out by going to craftingyourmessage.com and learn all about the Savvy Author membership there. Or if you're no, Clara, I think I need someone one-on-one, hold my hand and help me do this, I offer that service as well. And you can check that out on craftingyourmessage.com. And then finally, you might be one of those people who don't want to do the heavy lifting yourself, or you don't feel like you have the time or the technique or whatever it is that's holding you back, I do offer ghostwriting services as well. And you can find all that information, of course, over on craftingyourmessage.com. You can also learn a little bit about the history of the company and, of course, me and all of the places that you can connect with me on social media. I'm super excited that you joined me today. Thank you for showing up and spending this time with me. I hope that you feel like you've gotten some good knowledge about being professional as a writer and also some information about where you can get some help if you're struggling and you need someone to help you. As always, I appreciate your time. I look forward to seeing you same time next week, same place. Take care.